Hey YouTube, it's been a minute. Very exciting news. Last month, I actually gave birth to my first child, which is super exciting. And I basically didn't work for the whole month to ensure that I was being a present father. And my business still ticked along, generating 400-500K a month like it does every single month. So in this video, what I wanted to do is make a video of my 10 core lessons and things that you can do right now. If you're not yet at 400-500K a month, you want to grow your business to that level, great. But B, if you want to have a business that serves you, serves your life's purpose, and doesn't necessarily take you 14 hours a day and will take you 14 hours a day for the rest of your life. Like if you want a business that can run without you, like an actual business, again, you've not just got yourself a job here, you've got yourself a business that runs, you want to do that and scale at the same time. Here are 10 core lessons I'm going to give you. I promise you, if I learned these lessons 5 years ago, I've been an entrepreneur now for 7 years. If I learned these lessons 5 years ago, I'd have got to my goal a lot faster and would have saved myself tons of time in the process. So let's dive straight into that. So the first thing I want to talk about here, this is a framework that I got from Tim Ferriss, okay? ESAD. ESAD stands for eliminate, systemize, automate, and delegate, okay? Excuse the writing, I haven't written forever, so post school, FYI, your quality of your handwriting just drops. Doesn't matter. Anyway, ESAD, eliminate, systemize, automate, and delegate. So what does this mean? This is a framework that you need to go through. So the first thing I want you to do right now, and this is going to allow you to get immediate value. I guarantee if you just do this exercise, if you stop watching this video now and did this exercise, you'd get so much value from this free piece of content, okay? I want you to make a list of every single thing that you work on within your business right now. Every minute of your day, where it's going. You've got two ways to do this. You can just make the list, or B, you can literally create a little time tracker on Google Sheets or whatever, and just track your time in 15-minute increments. Do that for a full day or two. See where your time's going, okay? I then want you to go through every single thing on that list and follow this framework. The first question you need to ask yourself is, should I eliminate it? You should not systemize, automate, or delegate anything that can be eliminated, because the best way to save time isn't to just get somebody else to do it and cost you money and waste their time. It's to get rid of it altogether. And I want to give you a real-time example here of something that's quite actually funny. Shows you how stupid I was, but again, you can learn from my lessons. That's why we're here. So when I first started to see success in my business, I had my agency and I was doing Upwork outreach, and I was booking dozens and dozens of meetings every single week on Upwork. Now, because I'm a driven entrepreneur, I wanted to do more. So what did stupid old Brad do? He thought, right, I know what, I've seen people having success over here with Instagram DM outreach. I'm going to start doing that. So I started doing Instagram DM outreach, and because I was a one-man band back then, that naturally meant less time went into my Upwork outreach, which was generating me all of my results. And it took me a few weeks to realize I basically just shot myself in the foot. That is an example of something that I shouldn't systemize, automate, or delegate just because it's a task I do. What is the net impact? What value is that task actually providing? If it's not providing much or any at all, eliminate it. Simplification scales, okay? It's usually the important few things, not the trivial many, that actually get you results. So most of the things that you're working on, you should probably eliminate, okay? After elimination, and by the way, be brutal with that. After that, systemization, automation, and delegation. The next piece of the pie, although it's ESAD, that's just because it sounds nicer and it's easier to remember. But actually, the next piece of the puzzle here is automate. So if you can't eliminate it, you do need to do it. The next step up, the next best thing is automation. Now, an automation could be, maybe use a ChatGPT prompt, help you automate that process. Or you could use Zapier. This is basically something that happens without the need of a person. So it happens on autopilot. So if you can build a system, let's say an onboarding process, that every time a client pays, you can set up a Zapier automation to trigger all the onboarding process for them. That's an example of automating something. Now, if you can automate it using a robot or technology, you should absolutely not be getting a person to do it. So if it's something you cannot eliminate, you need to do it. Next up is looking at how you can automate that. Zapier is the best tool. We've got hundreds of Zapier automations in our company, and they literally save us tens of thousands of pounds every month having to hire people to do it. And it takes oftentimes just a few minutes to build that system and then actually set up the automations. So next stage is automate. Remember, you should never, ever automate something you should eliminate. And next up is you should never, ever delegate something you should automate. But that's the next step. Let's say you have automated it as much as you can, or maybe you can't automate said thing. Next stage is delegate. Now, look, just a side topic on delegation. Most of you guys, you become an entrepreneur because you want to be in control of your destiny. A lot of you are control freaks. You need to learn to just give up control, because I promise you, you will not scale beyond 100K a month if you cannot effectively give up control or delegate, okay? I could do a whole video on how to effectively delegate, but just really quickly, just some quick fire points here for you. The number one thing, you can literally use platforms like Upwork to find talent. So number one tip for delegation is find somebody who actually knows how to do that thing already. You don't really want to have to spend any time training them. Number two, how do you know whether you should actually delegate the task or do it yourself? Well, if you're, let's say you can easily work this out. Let's say you figure out your time's worth $250 an hour, and you can find somebody on Upwork to do it for $10 an hour. You're literally losing money if you're not delegating said thing, okay? And then number three, how do you actually effectively delegate? Number one, point of three. Great, But first thing within point three is you want to make sure they have all of the resources they need. Bloody hell. All of the resources they need to actually effectively do the job. Number two, they need clarity. You want to give people crystal clear expectations of what you expect them to do. And number three, you want some way to measure that. So that could be through some sort of KPI or number. They need a number or something that you can track to basically see how they're doing. If you can do that, you can spend a couple of hours finding the right person, giving them clarity on what you expect them to do, making sure they've got everything they need to do the job, and giving them a number to work towards. You will find so much more success from your delegation. Nice, easy, quick fire way to do it. Okay. So delegation is the act of getting somebody else to do the work. But again, never delegate something that should either be automated or eliminated. Else you're just wasting the other person's time and ultimately also costing yourself more money if you're going to have to continually pay them to do that task. Okay. The final piece of the puzzle is systemize. Systemize is a bit of a sideways one, really, because, just because you delegate something out doesn't mean you shouldn't systemize it. The best thing is you want to create a good system that you then delegate off the manual parts that are needed to somebody else. But systemization is really important because, let's say there's something that you need to be doing yourself, or something that you've delegated which is taking too many hours. You might just need to build a better system so that happens more fluidly. So, let's say after a client pay, we'll use the onboarding example again. Client pays, maybe right now it's taking you 15 minutes every time a client pays because you have to search this Slack channel for this information, this over there for that. Well, maybe you could build a better system where, there's a jot form that gets completed. After that jot form's completed, then the automation fires, and then after that, the person jumps in and does said thing. So oftentimes, after that, you can build a better system for how you approach things, a better system for that. So yeah, systemization. Okay, that's the final piece of the puzzle. So quick action step for you right now. Go through every single 15-minute increment of your life where you spend that time and go through that procedure. Straight away there, I've just saved you 10, 15, 20 hours a week, okay? And you'll probably make more money because if you reallocate that save time towards the thing that's actually generating your revenues and, your most important activities, you're going to make more money. Okay. Also, guys, we've got 10 steps here. That's just step number one, okay? So I'm trying to make these as valuable as possible for you. Step two, this is a nice important one, if you can afford it, okay? And by the way, just a quick thing on this. There's a lot of tips on here that for you right now, you might think, oh, that's a bit higher level, like I'm not at that stage right now. Trust me, watch it and learn it, because when you get to that stage, you've got the information ready. Else it's almost too late. You're gonna have to go and figure it out. So you might not be at that level now, but it's still really important to learn. So when these issues come up, and when you are in a position to tap into it, you're ready to go. You're not bottlenecked, right? You're scaling. You're moving fast. You're not getting bottlenecked because you have to then go and learn it. Okay. So some of this stuff might be a bit advanced, but really important that you learn it nonetheless. Okay. Tip number 2: hire an automation expert. Okay. So we hired an automation expert in our business. His name is Will. Shout out to Will. Will's job is to look at all the systems that we have. And he's on a contractor basis, by the way. We literally found him on Upwork. He's a contractor basis. But we hired Will to say, rather than me spending hours and hours and hours trying to build the best automations, when I really do understand Zapier pretty well, but again, I don't understand, it as well as Will does. We can go to Will and say, hey, this is something that I'm spending my time on right now. How can we automate this? Because yes, I have to pay, Will, I don't know how much he is. I think he's like $50 an hour. So he's not, again, cheap. But go back to the thing up here. Automation, yes, it might be a front-loaded cost to pay somebody like Will to come in and help with these automations. But if I can pay Will 2 hours of his time, $100 to automate something that would have taken a contractor or a payroll employee something an hour a day to complete, how much is that costing me longer term, paying out the delegation costs of basically paying their salary or paying their retainer to go and all that hourly work to go and do said thing. Okay, so often these things are front loaded, but if you have the money, this is a great way to fast track how you do this. Hire and find an automation expert. They'll come in and build all the automations, and it will save you so much time. Like I used to spend, we'll go into in a minute, like where I spend the majority of my time, so hopefully you guys can get some value from it. But I used to spend so much of my time building the systems. Now I literally have the idea of the system, or an idea of where the time's being wasted. I can literally go to Will and say, hey, go and do this. So then I'm saving even more time, someone else building the automation for me. So yeah, huge technique. Honestly, I figured this out this year. I didn't even know these automation experts exist. There's tons of them on Upwork. If you have the money, if you want to scale the business, invest in it. 10 out of 10 recommendation. Okay, hire automation experts, because then the automations you build save you time, but you're saving time getting someone to help build the automations. Honestly, it's like such an inception unlock for me when I realized that. Okay, automation expert. Tip 2 done. God, we still got 8 more. This is going to be a long video. Right, number 3. And again, you may not be at this position yet, but when you are, if you are making, this is honestly, if you're making more than 10K a month, you need this. Or if you're not yet, when you get to 10K a month, trust me, you need this. I have a house manager. Okay. Now this doesn't necessarily save me time in terms of in business hours, but this saves me so much time in terms of other hours of my life, and also allowing my willpower and focus to be on what's most important in my life, which yes is my business, but also now my daughter, right? And my wife. So what does my house manager do? Well, first of all, she works 3 days a week. And the top tip here, we hired, this is amazing. I mean, she's worked for me now for 5 years, I think, but we hired my wife's mum, so my mother-in-law, because we trust her. We don't mind her around the house. And it was also great to be able to take her out of a job that, I don't think she minded her job. It's not she hated it, but she's now in a job she enjoys more. She gets to spend more time with her family. She's got more flexibility. So it's a win-win. So top tip there, if you can also use a family member here, why not, right? But anyway, we've got my mother-in-law as my house manager. She has been for 5 years. What does she do for me? Where does she save me time? Well, to be honest, she does everything that A, I'm not good at, and B, that's just not a good use of my time. So she helps with the cleaning of the house, okay? She does my washing. She does my ironing. Great spelling. She takes the bins out, She does, let's say there's a contractor coming, like we got all of our driveway. I mean, this was probably 2 years ago now, but we got all of our front driveway done, right? She liaises with all the contractors. She speaks to them, gets the best quotes. She saves us money in that regard as well, because, she shops the market, gets us the best deal, and then manages that process. She should be here every morning to let them in. So I can just basically wake up, come into the office, do what I need to do, focus on running the business. When I finish my work day, I've not then going to go in and start washing all the house and cleaning. No, once I finish my work day, I can be a present dad, I can be a good husband, or I can continue focusing on the business. So the impact it has net is really important. So yeah, she deals with, contractors. And honestly, like let's say I've got parcels, I wanted to send something back. She'll send it back. She'll take stuff to the post office. Like anything that you can pretty much imagine around the house that doesn't serve your personal life in terms of being a dad and being a partner, or even serve my life in terms of being an entrepreneur and a business owner, she helps with. 3 days a week is more than enough time, and she's literally a godsend. So if you're making more than 10K a month, I would say genuinely, she saves me at least 20 hours a week, and I'd have to go and figure out what my hourly rate is right now. But let's say I valued my time at, say, 2 or 3 grand an hour, 5 grand an hour, whatever, right? Let's just, at some point between 1 to 5K an hour, whatever, right? Let's say I valued my time at that, and she's helping me save 20 hours a week. You know, like if she's helping me save 20 hours a week, even on the low end of a K an hour, like she's literally saving me 20 grand a week, you know, in terms of my time, you know? So, not only just in terms of happiness of my life, making, you know, I don't enjoy washing up. You know, she loves that stuff. You know, she loves making the house clean. I don't. And also it's just not a good use of my time. And yes, I could do it of an evening, but I'd rather be with my daughter. So it serves me in other areas of my life. It's not just a direct, oh, well, it makes me saves me 20 grand a week. Yeah, sure. You know, but that the main thing for me is also it helps me buy back my time in my other areas of my life. Okay. So house manager, 10 out of 10. If you're making more than 10K a month, do it. Even if you can't, meal prep you know, good entry level things. If you start to make 5, 6, 7, 8 grand a month, meal prep services, ironing and washing services, you know, right now as well, you know, the amount of, if you just have a little look, Google it, you can find all those things in the local area. Okay. So it doesn't even have to be a full-time person, but yeah, get to that point. Right. Next up, I have a management team. Okay. Now, again, this is another thing that I speak about. You might not be in a position right now where you need to hire a manager, let alone a management team. But I'm going to speak about this. What is this? 1, 2, 3. This is tip 4. Okay. So a management team. Okay. Now, really important to note, I would say if you are at a point where you've got between 5 to 10 plus people, you're going to you need a people manager. Because I've found from experience here, oftentimes being a leader that drives the business forward in terms of strategy, ideas, maybe you're the face of the brand or a marketer, whatever, that's often very different to operations, you know. And the perfect way to look at this would be how Alex and Layla have got their setup, you know. Alex is the face of the brand. He drives the business forward in terms of that. Layla's the people person. She operates the company on the day-to-day. She supports the staff, trains the staff, manages everything, makes sure that operates full fire, and Alex drives the business forward. Now, I'm not saying you can't be great at both. I just think it's really hard from a focus perspective to be great at both. So one of the best things I ever did was hire a manager in my company when we started to grow. And honestly, I hired a manager way too late. And what ended up happening was, my issue wasn't I was getting spread too thin people managing and trying to do both. It's that I just wasn't people managing. So I was trying to drive the business forward, but the team had no direction, no support, no accountability. And it was basically just a complete mess. So it can go one or two ways, right? So management team, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've got mine set up. So if you're at this position now, you can literally just rob it. And if you're not, you know this in advance to make sure when you get to this level, this is the first thing that you do, because this will buy you back so much time. And a great manager doesn't just buy you back time, but they pay for themselves. They are an investment, because if you pay them X amount of money, they will make you X amount more from also driving the department forward themselves. So it's not just a time saving, it's a revenue grower. Okay. And again, if you want to get to the point of 400, 500, 600, 700 grand a month, you need to have a management team in place. You just can't do it all yourself. So I have 3 managers in my company. You know, for context, right now, we're at about 40 to 50 total team members. Okay. Hence why we've got 3 managers in the business. So what are my 3 managers? Number 1, I have a sales manager, a head of sales, basically. Oh, manager. God, sorry for my handwriting. It's absolutely terrible. I have a sales manager. My sales manager manages my appointment setters, my closers. We've got, what have we got? Maybe 6 closers in the business, something like that. We've got a couple of appointment setters. So the sales team's 8, 9 people wide. And again, they need managing, people to keep them accountable, have one-to-ones, review pipeline, help support, coach them. My sales manager does all of that. Okay, they manage the sales team. I then have my head of done for you. Okay, so basically my head of done for you, and then I have my head of done with you. Head of done with you. These are basically both operation manager positions, but for their respective departments. Okay, so done for you, obviously we come in like manage the client's ads for them. We actually do it all for them. And then we as a downsell, 12 months ago, we introduced a done with you offering. So where basically we, for a lower price, we come in and we consult them on how to do it. We review their ad accounts, we support them, but they basically still take the action. So it's, you're providing all the support, but you're letting them do it themselves. It's like a done with you. It's like a hand holding more service, which is a great downsell. And basically, this was great because we were then able to increase the qualification of our done for you services, meaning we had better retention, better quality of client on that. But we still then had an offering to sell these people who are maybe not quite at that level yet, which massively increased our revenue. So, but because they're two completely different departments, and we've got a bunch of people in both of, especially in the done for you departments, as a big team, having that one person manage both things and drive it forward just wasn't going to happen. So I've got basically operations managers, and again, they drive that business forward. They manage all the people in the service delivery team, the media buyers, the account managers, customer success reps, all of those people. The head of each department manage those. That's really important, because the key thing to understand here is these people drive the revenue up, so they come in and they drive the business up themselves. So not only do they save time, but they drive the revenue up. So how does the structure currently work? Well, we have 40, 50 people in the team, right? We have 40 to 50 people in the team, but I only have those 3 people that basically report to me. Okay, so all of the 40 to 50 people report to their manager. The managers report to me. Okay, and in that way, I have a one-to-one once a month with all 3 of my managers, and we have a team leadership meeting once every 2 weeks, and once a quarter we have like a few days off-site. Outside of that, the business can run. I'm still here to drive the business forward. We're going to go into a minute of like where I spend my time. But then what this means is all of the day-to-day operations, I can focus on growing the business, pushing the business forward. And these guys can also focus on the day-to-day operationals, running the business, building the systems, managing the team members. And at the same time, when they also have free time and when they've got through all of that stuff, they also drive the business forward themselves, because they're on the ground. They see it day to day. They get feedback from their direct reports. They see what's happening. They drive the business forward. And it's just a win-win. So as soon as you have 5, 10 plus people in your team, I really recommend looking at getting a manager. And then if you have multiple departments, building a management team is a really, really, really great idea. And top tip for everybody, top tip. Give them a performance incentive based off of revenue or profit or something like that, because you get the buy-in of the manager to basically help grow the revenues and grow the profits as well. So everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet. Okay, so top tip is build a strong incentive program for the manager that is directly aligned with the top line or bottom line of the business. Okay, whatever's more important to you. Okay, so next up after that, building a management team. Great. So how then yes, great that we build a management team, okay? But how can I ensure, because I'm sure this is always a question with the delegation and the management team stuff. Great, we've got 40, 50 people. How can I make sure at a company, again, we're not the biggest company in the world, but I can't manage 40 to 50 people. So therefore, how do we ensure the standards are kept, without me having to work 40, again, this is what this video is about. It's not the video title, again, I don't know what the title is yet, but the video title is something along the lines of like, the business does 500, 600 grand a month, whatever, on an average month. And last month it did that and grew actually on, 0 hours input from me. How did that happen? Well, number one is I can trust it can happen. And I can trust it can happen because of the standards we have in place of that leadership team. So the question is okay, how can I comfortably step back and how can it grow? Yes, we've got a great leadership team, but how does that happen? Well, a few things, okay? Are we on tip 5? Maybe. It's KPIs. I am so sorry about this handwriting, by the way. So sorry. And core values. So there's 2 ways to ensure standards. You've got core values, which is more so ensuring you've got good culture fit, okay? So you want to make sure you've got a good culture fit in your team, and even if you're not around, the culture is still there. The standards are still there, which is driven by core values. Again, I think personally, a skill set is great, right? But if somebody's naturally like a negative person, it's very hard to change that. If somebody doesn't meet a certain core value, like in our company, our most important core value is being customer obsessed. if somebody just doesn't care, they want to come and get a paycheck, they can do their job great, yeah, but culturally they still may not be a good fit, okay? So we have two expectations for our standards across the board. There's culture fit, and then there's actual like performance based off of metrics, which is where KPIs come in, okay? So we basically manage our whole team, and so I manage my managers, and the managers manage their direct reports based off of these two core areas. So you've got actual performance. So every person in the company has KPIs. These are measurable metrics to showcase the performance of them in their role. Yeah, because on the flip side, you could be super customer focused, but absolutely horrendous at your job and not hit any of the KPIs and metrics, and the business completely underperform. So you have to have both. Number one is KPIs. So everyone in the company has KPIs. So for context, in our agency, on our Done For You side, the most important metric for us is client retention, because the higher the LTV, the better for us. So the longer we retain customers, like if we can retain a customer for 12 months instead of 3 months, we have 4x'd the LTV of our average customer, or at least of that customer. Of an average retainer of, say, if it's $2,000 a month, 2K times 3 months is 6K, 2K times 12 months is 24K. The difference in LTV from retention is extraordinary, right? So our key metric from our service delivery team on our Done For You services is making sure they retain their customers. So they are KPI'd, and our head of Done For You, every time they have a one-to-one, they review the individual metrics of retention for every single staff member in their team. Because, if you've got 10 people in the team, one person's churns at like 50% for the month, everyone else is at 10%, right? For example, your target to get churned down is made up from those individuals, okay? So one person underperforming can pull the whole team down, okay? So it's really important that you track metrics on a team level and on an individual level, okay? And the key way to do this is like, what's the most important number for this person, okay? And how can I keep them accountable to that? Well, you track that metric, and it's got to be based off performance. So yeah, for an agency, retention percentage is fantastic. For a sales team, it could be revenue per core, or it could even be like close rate, or cash per core, stuff like that. These are all important metrics. You can go figure that out. I can do other videos on the process, but you need a performance-based metric. And the next one is you need the cultural-based metrics, which again, were made up from core values. This way, my management team can manage and say, right, are they hitting their KPIs? Are they performing within their job? Yes, great. Now, are they being negative? Are they, swearing at our customers on the phone? Are they not being, they're doing a great job in retention, but they're not customer focused? Well, cool. We can still manage that. My managers can still manage that, because we've got a set of core values in our company that if you do not follow these core values, just the same way if you do not hit your performance goals, we won't keep you in the business. Okay. So therefore, how can I continue to scale the business with my management team without having sleepless, sweaty nights worried that we're not going to scale and that there's going to be the whole company is going to be a complete mess? KPIs, performance-based metrics, core values, and our whole team are aligned on that, and our managers are accountable to their team being accountable to those metrics. And obviously I've hired my managers in my business because they're exemplary in these exact core values and the KPIs themselves. Okay, really, really, really important. And that way, I can spend less time worried in the business, and I was able to be completely comfortable taking a full month away from the company because I had that much trust in my leadership team. Okay, really, really important. And obviously, just go build your core values. Your core values are a reflection of the owner, the founder. They should be what you want. It's your business at the end of the day. Okay, right. Next up, I think we're on 6 at this point. If we're not, again, I apologize. The whiteboard here is a shambles, but hopefully the value's there. That's what that matters. Okay. So I recently got back from a trip to Japan. Japan. Oh my God. As a nerd, somebody who is obsessed with Pokemon and anime and sushi, I just had the best time of my life, okay, in Japan. And what I actually realized, though, going to Japan is how much respect they have for their country. And I loved the whole culture. The whole culture of Japan is like, yeah, you've got that right. And so when I got back from Japan, I got really interested in Japanese ways of life and Japanese philosophies. And I stumbled upon a philosophy that's called Wu Wei. Okay. Now, Wu Wei is basically, it's misinterpreted. And the thing is with Wu Wei, it's actually quite a difficult concept to explain. But the way that at least the way that I understand it, okay, And the way that I recommend that you can take away value from this video is that Wu Wei is the art of almost letting things happen naturally and making progress in an easy way. I think sometimes people mistake it for just be lazy and don't do any work. That's not what it is. It's still about being driven and making progress, but it's about how can I make progress in an effortless state. So the best analogy I can give here, and this is something that's changed my life, is you want to make sure you can grow your agency, coaching, consulting business, whatever it is right now. You want to grow it like you're a sailboat instead of a rowboat, okay? Because at the end of the day, they're both boats. They both make progress. The rowboat is hard work. The sailboat is hard work initially, putting the sails up. Once the sails up, goes with the wind. So it's effortless. The thing runs with ease. You want to build your business in a way that it runs with ease, because the more that it can run with ease, because you've got good team members in place, solid system. Again, the ESAD method would help a lot with this, because you eliminate the stuff that doesn't matter, that gets in the way, that's clunky. Okay, if you can make it so running your business is like a sailboat. And the best way to do this, honestly, is to use that ESAD method, because you can come up with the system, you can come up with the effective delegation to a team member and let that business run in an effortless state. If you do that, you will make more progress, because it's easier workload on you, okay, first of all, and you'll have more willpower, you'll have more free time to then go and focus on the things that drive the business forward. So for the first few years in business, I was so focused on just grinding it out. And you do need to do that when you start, okay? You have to just grind it out to get those first few clients and to scale up. But at some point, when you start getting 10, 20K a month, the additional time and energy input to row it like a rowboat gets you diminishing returns. The better thing you can do is because you only have so many hours in your day, the best thing is like, how can I make the most progress within that time frame and within those hours? And it's about looking at how I can be a sailboat, okay? I think, we grow up and it's like, you're indoctrinated with like, hard work. Oh my God, he works so hard. It's a badge of honor, blood, sweat and tears, right? It's like, everyone's proud of the hard work, which is great, and so we should be. But I feel like we live in a different time now with the internet and with ChatGPT and with Zapier. Like we live in a way that we can actually not even make the same amount of progress, but arguably more progress with less effort by being smarter with our decisions and being smarter with how we run our company and being smart about when we've got our most energy, the things that we work on. So go and research it yourself, but basically a great book on this is called Effortless. Effortless is a fantastic book. I think by the author's called Greg McKeown or something like that. So yeah, basically, without driving the point home, build your bloody business like a sailboat, not a rowboat. In the beginning, you have to be a rowboat, but as soon as you can upgrade into being that sailboat, do it, because you'll be so much happier as well. Okay, and you'll make more progress and more money. So win-win-win. So next up, number 7, I want to speak about basically operating inside of my core area of value, because there's 2 things to this, right? Number 1, it allows you to save time because you're not focusing on all the other stuff that you shouldn't be. And number 2, it allows you to make more more progress, because you're focusing on the true area where you bring the most value that no one else in the business can. Now, I'm going to tell you what this is for me. It actually may be different for you, but what it is for me, which is 2 things, okay? Number 1, it's strategy, okay? At this point now, I have worked, as an agency, we've spent tens of millions of pounds on paid ads. I've had a coach business consultant. I've done YouTube content. I've made that many mistakes. I can't even tell you how stupid I've been. The good news is I have learned from them, which means right now, over the last 7 years, I've got very good at knowing what we need to do as a company to drive us forward. So making the decisions, okay? And number 2 for me, it's delegation. Like, I've got leverage now, right? I've got a management team and I've got 40 to 50 people in the team. I've got people who can, if I need a task done, I have an executive assistant who can go and hire those people to allow us to make progress in that area. It's a better use of my time now to work on and decide where we're going and then delegate that out to somebody in my team. Because let's have a little discussion about this. I think this is really, really quite important to understand. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit so it's a bit more zoom. There we go. It's really important to understand this concept because right now, as a business, we've got that many moving parts. I've got my 50 troops, right? Let's just say, here's a circle just out of ease. I could quite easy, old Brad would have just been like, right, I want to make a decision. Let's make a decision. Let's go in this direction. And I'd actually send my troops in this direction and then realize later on that actually we're better going in this direction. So I've got to come all the way back up to get, like, let's say here's the target. I've gone all the way down there and all the way back up. Whereas now I will spend an extra few hours, an extra day, whatever it takes to make sure I'm making the right decision. I'm playing chess. I'm being strategic about my next move. Then once I've committed, mapped out all the positives, negatives, and whatever it is that, yes, we're going in this direction. This is what we need to work on next. This is the decision. I can make sure my team go, as they say in golf, as the crow flies, straight there. So even though I've spent a day, this could be months, all of this, okay? That could be months. But I've spent a couple of days making sure I'm sending my troops in the right direction, okay? I don't even know what this squiggle is. I'm not an artist, clearly. Picasso, eat your heart out. But yeah, what's really important is that, I'm sending my troops in the right way. And I read a book on leadership by Sir Alex Ferguson. Any football fans will know him, the most successful manager of Manchester United. And he said, when he was younger, he'd always be urgent and rush into decisions. But actually, as he's got older, taking decisions and having patience on decisions shows, experience and being wise. And I definitely can, and I'm not saying I'm wise, but I'm 7 years into this now. I'm wiser than I was 7 years ago. And spending time to make the right decision shows experience, okay? Making the right decision is ultimately the most important thing that you can do. And especially for me in my business, when I've got, again, like I said, a management team, a full sales team, a full delivery team, customer success team, billing teams, all of this stuff. If I send my troops in the wrong direction, that's going to cost me so much more money. If I just spend a day, a few hours, even 10 minutes thinking through a decision before I make it to make sure I'm making the right decision, and this is the project and task that we should work on, this is what we're going to do to increase profits, grow revenue, whatever, increase client happiness, that's a far better use of time. All right. So yeah, strategy number one, and then delegation. Now this is my core area, but let me just show you what this also means. So we've got strategy. Okay. Hopefully you understand now the importance of making the right decisions, especially when you've got more resource. But number two, I want to speak about specifically delegation, because yes, I could go and work on these things myself, but let's give you an example. Let's say there's project one over here. Now I've got an idea for a project, and maybe this project will take 100 hours. So let's just call it 2 full work weeks. Okay. So I've got 100 hours for a project. I can go and work on that project, okay? I can go and do that project. That's going to take me 100 hours, okay, of my time, if I'm solely focusing on that one thing. Scenario two is what I actually work on, is I think through the idea of the project, and I think, yes, this is what I'm going to do, okay? So I've got to the same conclusion as this. But it takes me 15 minutes. Heck, let's just call it 1 hour, okay? Let's call it 1 hour. To effectively delegate this to one of my managers who can then run with it with their department in said project. So let's say it's something I want to implement on the sales team, okay? I want to build out all this new CRM, whatever, right? It's going to take 100 hours. I want a whole new structure for how we follow up, whatever, right? I could instead effectively speak to my head of sales about it, effectively delegate it, make sure they've got the clarity on what wants to be achieved, all the resources in the world, they're fully aligned, and then I say, go and run with this project. It's taken me an hour instead of 100 hours. So I've just saved myself 99 hours that I can then go and make better decisions with. But where it gets really powerful, if you see the effect of compounding, I can then, guess what, in 1 8-hour workday, I can maybe decide, make 3 or 4 core decisions that would have saved me 400 hours, but the outcome still stays the same. Okay, the outcome still happens. Maybe because I'm not the one doing it, it's 90% as good rather than 100%. And maybe that's just me fluffing up my own ego. Maybe most of the time that's not even the case because I've got a brilliant team. But let's just say that is the case, because I know that's what holds a lot of you back. That's more so why I'm saying it. It's like, I know you think, oh, well, I can do it better myself. Yes, but to what cost? You can do it. They can do it 90% as good as you. So it's worth the 100 extra hours for that 10%. For me, that's just not a good trade-off, okay? the net impact I'm going to have, the compounding effect of me able to have an 8-hour day to make 3 or 4 more big decisions, effectively delegate those out, I'm going to be able to move so much faster than you, okay? And that's all because of really the next point here. I'm not going to kind of shift on. These points really feed each other, okay? It's all about leverage. Oh my Lord, my spelling. That does say leverage. Leverage. It's all about leverage at this point, okay? Strategy and delegation, but the key thing when you combine those together is leverage, okay? I can make the progress. I can use my core area of expertise. To round off point 7, I can use my core area of expertise, okay, to come up with a strategy, but then I can effectively delegate that to my fantastic team to go and run with, okay? And it saves me so much time. I can then just check in on that the progress, and I'll obviously be there to support my direct reports, my managers, whatever, in the progression of that, the project. But ultimately, I can then go and focus on the next most important thing, which is the core use of my time, which is a lot more important. So this takes us on to leverage. So, Bill Gates can pick up the phone because he's got hundreds of thousands of employees at Microsoft. He can pick up the phone, make a call, and he can make a 10-minute decision about something and add 100 million a year in recurring revenue to his business. Like, ludicrous. He can do that because of leverage. He's made $100 million decision and set the ball in motion for him to speak to his direct report, who speaks to his direct report, and then funnels down to whoever needs to complete the project, and he gets a report on the extra 60 million he's made based off that decision. Now, I know that's an extreme example, but it's an extreme example to drive the point home, which is that when you get to a certain point, leverage is really important. And there's 2 ways of leverage. So leverage comes down to resource, but resource really in terms of like financial resource. So the more money you have, the more you can obviously just pay for stuff to be done. And then obviously people, which is resource. Again, you could argue that comes from money, but still like people actively doing the things. So if you've got a cash flowing business and 40 to 50 people in your team and a management team like I do, I can make the decisions, and I'm oh my God, could you even imagine being at Bill Gates level, right? Like, he's on a whole new stratosphere. So my teeny tiny business, is nowhere near that level, but I still have some form of leverage here that I can use. And that's really important to understand. It's the whole Archimedes thing of him like lifting up the world. It's like, what's the saying? I'm going to completely butcher this quote, but it's like, give me a fulcrum long enough and a place at which to something, and I could literally move the world. Something like that, right? But it's just, at the end of the day, leverage is everything in business. It's an easier way to lift a heavier load, okay? And you do have decision fatigue as you progress through your day. And if you can make more better decisions, if you have a 3-hour window where you're like operating at full force with your caffeine hits before you start getting a bit of a slog, imagine the better decisions you can make when you're not having to then execute on all of those projects as well yourself. So leverage is key. And I'm not just going to leave you there. I'm going to add another point to leverage. The number one most valuable form of leverage is knowledge. Okay, so this is also where I spend a large chunk of my time. In order for me to, we've just spoken about making the best decisions is the most important thing. Okay, so how do you then make the best decisions? It's having the most knowledge. Like, how am I now able to make better decisions than Brad from 7 years ago? Because I've gained the knowledge through mentors, courses, content, being on the ground, actually doing the work and making mistakes, okay? The most valuable form of lessons, like making the mistakes. But basically, the reason I'm able to make better decisions now is because the knowledge I've acquired over the last 7 years. So therefore, knowledge is the most important form of leverage, because I could right now sit and try and make the best decision in the world without any knowledge, and I would make a poor decision. But let's say right now I want to build a CRM. And let's say I want, not build a CRM. I want to improve how we use our CRM, and I want a better follow-up process. So I want to make sure we're tapping into the most optimal follow-up in our sales team, okay? I could think through all the best ways to do it, or I could spend 10 hours with a coach, consultant, a mentor, reading books on follow-up to get the knowledge and then try and attack that decision. If I do that, I'm going to make far more progress. Therefore, knowledge is the most important form of leverage that you have, especially as you scale and you can make these decisions. Like, the quality of your decisions is everything, and the knowledge you have impacts the quality of those decisions. So try not to just rush into, and look, I'm not saying, do not take this so literal to say, right, just learn a bunch of stuff and don't take any action. That's what Brad's saying. I'm not saying that. You have to execute, but just get the knowledge before execution. And you don't need to like overload on knowledge to the point where you never take action. Like there is a fine point, right? But get the key points of knowledge. And how can you do this? Like books are great, obviously. Obviously mentors, coaches, stuff like that. Those are the fast tracks ways to do it. But do you know one of the best ways I found? Like honestly, and this is just a top tip, just watch what people are bloody doing. Like you could literally right now, if you went into my business and you were thinking like, right, like, I could ask all these mentors how I increase show up rate. Well, I'll tell you what you could do. Go through my funnel as if you're a customer and book a call and see what happens. Okay. See what happens. You'll get a text as soon as you book a call to confirm. It's going to get automatically added to your Google Calendar. You're going to get an email with all of our client testimonials and results so you can see what it's like to be a customer, get you excited about the results that our other customers have achieved. You're then going to get the closer who you're booked in with, the sales rep that's booked in with you is going to manually reach out to you to confirm the booking of the call, and then the call's going to happen. That's what we do to increase show up rate. There you go. You've got it all for free. How could you learn that though? Yes, you could go and try and read all these books on Show Up, or you could literally just watch what I am doing. Funnel hack the most successful agencies. Go through their application process. What questions are they asking? How are they qualifying me? If I put this, do I get disqualified? If I put this, do I get qualified? Yes, I do. Okay, so therefore that's how they're qualifying their leads. If you just were more observant and watched what people are doing, you would learn so much more. So yes, leverage is key, but and knowledge is key. But a key way that you're going to get that is from honestly like funnel hacking other people and like just watching what they're doing. How is Mr. Beast the most successful YouTuber? How? Look at what he's doing. Okay, every 3 seconds the clip changes. Okay, that's obviously strategic. Okay, so constant changing of frames. He starts the video immediately high energy. Okay, just watch what he's doing. It's all strategic. And pick anybody who's most successful. You love how somebody does their Instagram stories and they get great results from their they say they get 30% of their revenue from Instagram stories. Cool. Yes, you could go and learn some books about Instagram stories. Watch what they're doing. Really think it through. Most people, especially successful people, it's not by accident. Everything they do is strategic. Okay? So watch what people are doing. Honestly, that tip alone, as basic as it is, has literally made me so much more revenue in my companies. It's like millions of a year in extra revenue in my companies just from that. Okay, so what else have we got? We've got a couple more. Okay, I've got 2 more things here. Okay, I'll dive into these. Number 9. Hopefully you guys are getting a ton of value. If you are, drop a comment. Drop a like. Right, really, 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 really important. More, and there's you can see a trend here. More, by the way, I've learned this the hard way. More is not more. Not always, anyway. More. We've sort of touched on this topic, but I want to go into a real specific example here to drive this home. So we're just speaking about show up rate. So I got to a point a couple of months ago where I was like, built all this stuff, really moved the needle. And I was like, right, what can I work on now? And I kind of just was like, I'm just going to work on increasing our show up rate just because, right? And just for context, our show up rate is like 75-80%, which is a really, really good show up rate. If you're, that's a good show up rate. If you're at 75 to 8% show up rate, like that's not going to be a bottleneck for you. I can guarantee you, right? It's pretty standard. It's a really good like show up rate, pretty standard show up rate for the industry. Okay. Now, what did Brad do? Idiotic Brad thought, I'm just going to try and improve that further. Like, let's get it consistently above 80%, even 85%. Upside minimally is a few extra percent in actual show up rate, which like bottom line, what does the impact that even has? It's like probably super, super minimal, right? But Idiotic Brad thought, right, I'm going to go and mess with it. So what did I do? I hired a funnel designer. I made our thank you page 10 times more beautiful. I showed examples of us running through ad accounts. I showed examples of the product and like what they're going to get on the thank you page, all this stuff. Added 10 times more testimonials, all this stuff. What actually happened to my show up rate? Okay. Did it stay the same? No. Did it go up? No. Actually went down. So what did I do? I basically spent time. I spent money because I hired a funnel guy to come in. And I actually got worse results. Sometimes just harder work and doing more. you're just doing it for the sake of it because you want to feel busy and you feel guilty when you don't work. I bet that, tell me you've not felt that before, right? Hello? I feel like it's every entrepreneur. The second you take a 5-minute break, you feel like guilty. I swear I've had to seriously deal with that complex as I've made progress as I'm coming on to my 30s here. But like, yeah, seriously, tell me you've not been there as an entrepreneur, right? And you've got to understand that at the end of the day, the net goal, the net outcome, the goal is the target, right? It's progress. And sometimes more can touching stuff and messing with things. You can make things worse. You can spend time, money, and ultimately just make things worse. So understand when things are better left untouched is the core point here. And more is not always more. Final point, and I'll leave you to actually go and have a life and execute on some of this stuff, okay? Don't be a guy or a girl that watches content and then doesn't execute. There's so much stuff that you can go and execute from this. Take this final tip and then run with it. This is more of a mindset one. And as I've become a dad, I've done a lot of self-reflection. You need, without sounding like Tony Robbins, you need to understand your why and like why you're doing things. And I don't mean like, why do you get out of bed in the morning? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, why are you driven to do things? Okay. For the longest time, I genuinely just thought like if you look at any successful person, let's actually backtrack. If you look at any successful person, like I was bullied when I was at school. Okay. I imagine, I'm pretty confident now that I've done self-reflection work. I didn't come from any money. So like, you know, when we were growing up, like we obviously struggled financially. You know, I remember when I was a kid, like bailiffs being at the door, for example, move house all the time. You don't understand it. I had the most loving childhood. My mum is the best, right? She was the most loving child. I was filled with, you know, presents, not necessarily presents, right? I was filled with love and filled with presents, which is the most important thing. But I didn't have a bunch of money and I was bullied when I was at school. That, as I've got older, I realized is driven me to become driven. It's almost like I wanted to become successful to prove to others I could become successful, right? Or, you know, prove to myself for my own self, prove to myself that I'm worth it, right? Because, you know, when you're bullied at school, you want people to like you and you don't even know if you like yourself and all that stuff. And you realize then, as you get older, you work and you work and you work and you chase all these targets and you're driven, but like, why? Like, I know Stephen Bartlett speaks about this. Like, are you being pulled? Or are you pushing forward? Like, are you being pulled by something? Like, and I just want you to really look at, like, you know, you set all these targets, like, right, you're at 100k a month, you want to get to 500k a month. Why? Like, actually, why? Are you wanting to prove to others that you can do it? Do you want to prove to your family? Is it your own insecurities and belief of your own self-worth as to why? Or do you genuinely want to do it? The amount of times I've realized now that I've done things in my life because I've been pulled by external factors, which I consciously didn't even realize until I genuinely did the reflective work. And it honestly wasn't until I hit these targets, by the way, that I was really able to do the reflective work, right? It's like, you know, you hear celebrities always speak about, I can't remember who it was, but oh god, it's the actor from not Bruce Almighty. Oh, why can I not think of Ace Ventura? We all know the guy. I can't believe I'm dad brain, by the way, now. But you know, he speaks about, it's like, you know, you almost need to become famous and successful to realize becoming famous and successful isn't all that. And like, obviously I'm not that successful at all, and I'm certainly not famous, but, you know, I realized as I've started to hit, you know, more revenue targets, you know, multi-million-pound business in my 20s, you start to then realize and reflect on stuff like, you know, why was I doing this stuff? And the reason I say this to you is, you might be at 10 grand a month right now and want to get to 50 grand a month. And you might want to do that because you generally want to do that and there's a certain target you want to have. But just really look inwards and be like, why? And at what cost? Because the common theme of a lot of this stuff that I've done in this video today is I've spoken about how you can do that in reduction of hours. There is a scenario where if I became a father 3 years ago, I probably would have been the stereotypical entrepreneur dad that spent 0 time with my kids. Okay, that had, yes, money in the bank, that, yes, had a great drive at work and a great team and all this stuff, but had no time for my children, had 0 relationship with my wife, you know, what on earth? 0 relationship with my wife, no relationship with my friends or my parents, no time for holidays and trips. And all I will say is I'm still young, and I'm glad I've started to realize this as I'm about to go into my 30s this year. There's a great book called Five Regrets of the Dying, and it speaks about the main regrets that people have when they're on their deathbed. And one of the most common regrets is that people think they work too much. And I do think you need to work extremely hard. You should chase after your goals. Life is about progress and making progress. But, you know, you've got several buckets in your life, okay? Health, family, all that stuff, you know, memories. Work and money is only one of the buckets. And for me, it wasn't even about the money, genuinely. It's like I wanted to achieve these revenue targets to prove to myself that I could do it. And I imagine that stems from the fact that I come from a family where we didn't have anything and I was bullied. Understand if what you want is what you really want, or if when you look back in your life in the future, you could actually genuinely think, you know what, if I did things differently, like I could have had all the happiness of my business at 50 grand a month. I didn't need to work 14 hours a day to get my business to 500k a month, because ultimately it doesn't impact my life. I want a Lambo to show off to other people's. Is that worth the 14 hours, or could you just generally be happy? Because you're making 50 grand a month, 25 grand, 20 grand a month, 15 grand a month profit. You travel the world, you enjoy your experiences. You know, for me, that's what life's all about. So understand what's driving you. And I'll leave you with that philosophical, deep note. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to respond to the comments. If you have any questions, I'll answer them personally for the first couple of days this video is live. So just drop comments down below and I'll get back to you personally with any support you need. Appreciate you, and she'll see you in the next video.